What's up, guys? Well, welcome back to the pod. It's been a while. It has been. It's 2024. It's a new year. I'm absolutely looking forward to this season. I can't wait to get it started. You guys all know on my post that I did take the year off last year. It was mentally very tough on me, and at the end of the day, I just financially just couldn't do it. I couldn't get enough sponsors to get me going. We all know that the NPFL had some hiccups about like entry fees and how they went up, and as soon as that happened, that was kind of like I knew right away I wasn't even going to do it. And then by the time that they changed everything back to what it was the year before that, for entry fees, it was kind of just too late. I was really trying to work and trying to get sponsors for that year, and it just didn't happen. I didn't get enough money, put it that way, and I didn't want to take that cash, put in my own cash into this season and fall short, because just financially last year was tough, and it wasn't just tough on me, it was tough on a lot of people. So at the end of the day, I didn't fish. I took advantage of taking last year off and got to fish more and did some more personal things and stuff like that on my end, to try to like learn lakes and learn techniques and stuff like that. So yeah, taking last year off, was actually a good thing. I'm pumped. I am so excited. For this year, I just can't express it enough. When something is kind of like not necessarily taken away from you, but you kind of take a step back and you felt like you were just you were on the grind, you're going up. It was hard, but I think I'm more ready than I've ever been. I think this year is going to be challenging because the field is absolutely stacked. But at the end of the day, we're all fishing the same lake, same time, same everything. And I mean, the best person will take the shield, So hopefully that'll be me. Logan Martin's the first tournament of the season. I'll be leaving there the 27th, the day before official practice. Gonna get to the cabin. I'm gonna be traveling with Will Harkins this year. I believe Richard Key as well. So that should be interesting. Yeah, Logan Martin. I have done my homework. I've done my pre-practicing. I had a very successful week at Logan Martin prior to the cutoff, and I'm not gonna go over techniques or anything and stuff like that, but I feel like if it stays similar to what I was doing going into tournament day, then I have a really good shot of getting a pretty high check or possibly holding that shield. So we'll see what happens. After this tournament's over, I will go ahead and post my official practice video up, and then I will go ahead and post after that the actual tournament. Hopefully I'll have a camera guy so I don't have to do any recording, but we'll see what happens. I'm really looking forward to this event. I feel like Logan Martin sets up the way I like to fish and the way I like to do things, and if you guys know me and you know what I like to do, then you kind of know what my game plan is. So anyways, yes, looking forward to Logan Martin and looking forward through the rest of the season. It's crazy because like this tournament at the end of this month, the last day is February 3rd. I don't have a next event till like May, like at the middle of May, which is in Hartwell, in our second event, because the NPFL will have the championship in between those dates. And so I got a long break, and I'm still gathering sponsorships for this season. I got 2 right now on the board, possibly more coming in. As you guys know, I did just post my story about myself. It's on my YouTube if you want to go ahead and check it out. It's about 6 to 7 minutes long. It just kind of gives you a breakdown of who I am and what my goals are for this season. Also like a sales pitch to lure sponsors, and hopefully they believe in me and give me a chance to fulfill my dream. So Yep, I got two sponsors right now on the board. I'm not going to shout them out yet. I'm going to wait till probably before this tournament to go ahead and announce some of my partners going into the season. But again, I'm starting better than I did last year with sponsor wise and money wise. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how the season plays out and stuff like that. And I necessarily might not have a jersey or a boat wrap before this first event, but the next 5 I will have that all in place. Again, we have this pretty long time where I don't have my next event. I'm probably going to jump in a couple things in between there. So probably sometime in the middle of February, beginning of March, I should have the jersey and the boat wrap and possibly the boat or the truck wrap. Not that I really want the truck wrap, but if it somehow it works out, then if it has to happen, then I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So, but anyways, guys, today's episode, I have another guest, a really good friend that I have grown up with since my high school days. I've stayed in contact with him. I'm really I know his father very well. And all the people that I met when I was younger and I grew up, Kyle is one of by far the most unique person. He is a really good fisherman, and he's very motivated. He's got like an Energizer bunny. He doesn't want to quit, and that really brings the best out of him and stuff like that. And I couldn't be more happier than to see him. Through all these years, because we've been friends for over 22, 3 years. I don't even know, since high school. I've been out of high school for over 20 years, I feel like now. It's been that long. But yeah, I mean, remember the days of having sleepovers at his house, and the next day we would wake up to go fishing. And I remember he used to have this room, I think it was like his dad's office, and it was like just decorated of all Bassmaster stuff, fishing and stuff like that. We used to watch all kinds of videos. It was so cool. Like going over his house, having the sleepovers when we were younger, that was like the coolest thing ever. And then waking up early, Terry, his dad, taking us fishing on the lake or Trafford or whatever the case may be, whatever place they decided to take us, it was pretty cool. So, but yeah, this episode is Kyle Metzger. Like I said, a really good friend, a good childhood friend that I grew up with through high school, and I, like I said, stayed in contact till now. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode and stay tuned.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so like, I don't know. It's the thing with Tua. Plus, you guys had no one like you guys couldn't even block.
Yeah, our defense is hurting. I mean, they were calling up guys off the practice squad that were,
like 35,
yeah,
40 years old.
Yeah, they were making 20 grand last week, and they're like, hey, you want $1 million this week? Cool, here you go.
I know. And then FSU this year, man.
I don't know. I don't know.
I know I posted a comment about it. Like I have total respect about FSU and what they did this year. The thing was, what pissed me off is that, the fact that you guys didn't make it in, which you should have made it in my opinion. But you all decided to back out and complain about it. And then you guys showed up against Georgia, and I mean, they went in there, they're pissed off that they lost, and
Yeah, but like,
and that's how I looked at it. You know what I mean?
I wasn't mad like about the game. Like when you're gonna lose, like it's like, okay, well, best we can do, and I even posted, I think, on my Facebook, like the best we can do tonight, best case scenario is we get a touchdown. Like that was it. That was my goal. And we didn't do that. So apparently my goal was a reasonable goal. But 20, I think the final number was like 29 starters sat out. And I looked at the roster before the game. It was like red shirt, sophomore, freshman, sophomore, fresh. So it's like the thing I got mad about, and this is like whenever I get angry on social media, it's not like directed at someone about like an issue. It's not like, oh, you're red versus blue or you're left versus right. It's the ignorance behind it. So when you had all these bandwagon Georgia people who've been just hopping on left and right the last couple of years, sitting there just bashing Florida State, and it's like, well, let's look at the facts. Like 29 players sat. Like if you dive into the conspiracy theories, like on all the Arrowhead and the Facebook pages that Florida State has, like there's like rifts between ESPN, who's the brother of the person on the selection committee who says that they put Florida State out, so that's why they were mad. So all the players sat out. Like there was so much more into it, but what was getting me mad was just the Facebook people, like sitting behind their computers with the ignorance of, oh, Florida State sucks because they're ACC and they didn't play anybody this year. And it's like, well, okay, how long did we say that about Michigan, Ohio State, Washington, Oregon? Like pretty sure they did pretty good this year. It's just we had 29 starters sit out. Like,
Yeah.
I
That is
don't know.
true.
I like football, and I probably get more into it than I should, is just watching as a sport. But like, I don't know. It's something to hold on to outside of fishing. Like, if somebody wanted to start bringing that up about tournaments and, oh, this guy had a lead on the last day and blew it, well, like, all right, let's get into the facts on that. But unfortunately, fishing doesn't get as big of a following as NFL or college football.
It's funny about sports. I feel like I'm mixing this backwards, but when you were younger, when I first met you, you didn't like football. I know that for a fact. You didn't like football.
I don't think it was that I didn't like football. You know my dad. Like my dad does not like organized sports. He likes solo sports. So, he was a big racing fan and fishing, So I wouldn't say that I didn't like it. Like we'd go to football games. I wasn't really here to watch football, but no, and then I joined lacrosse junior year, I think, played lacrosse.
And that was at Palmetto, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was at Palmetto, but we played for Gulf Coast, so.
Yeah. So that's where you're from. Obviously Naples. I know about that. That's where I met you. Born and raised, only child. Your dad's a freaking fishing legend. I mean, he literally is a fishing legend. No one knows who Terry Metzger is. They need to go back in the archives because ultimate legend. And then you grew up obviously fishing Okeechobee, Trafford, because in that area you grew up with dirt bikes. Your dad owned a company called Cypher Cycle. I think he ended up selling that, right?
Yeah, 48 years of a business he had enough. It was time to retire.
So how was that like growing up, being an only child and, knowing what Naples was and how small of a town it was until it's what it looks like now, and, what Okeechobee was when we were kids and what it looks like now?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole nother podcast, all like Naples on its own, Okeechobee on its own. It was growing up in what we thought was a small town. Middle school and high school was what they were. We had the fishing club and fishing team. But my escape always was going to the lake on the weekends. We had a little camp up there, and that was my weekends. Like Friday nights, like I may go to a football game and hang out with kids from high school, but Saturday, Sunday, I was, gone hanging out with the adults and bass fishing. So I didn't stick around high school a whole lot to do all those high school things per se, like you say, like go to football games and try out for this sport or that sport. My mentality was always to fish, and Dad always said if you get hurt doing one of these sports, then you can't fish. So that even scared me more to not do sports or anything like that. But being an only child, it was easier, I think, to push me in that direction, which looking at it now with all these high school fishing teams and college fishing teams, like parents are having to, kind of decide. I think, I've heard some of the pros say like, oh, my son's got a high school tournament this weekend. So-and-so's taking them. So it's like, I don't have any kids yet myself, but like looking at that, I'm like, someday that's something to think about. Like, do I want to push my kid towards fishing and be involved in their fishing career, which I would, and then also, my fishing career. And I seen that a lot, with my dad growing up. I would go saltwater fishing on the weekends, and he would go have a bass tournament because back then we couldn't, 16 years old or wasn't old enough to fish. So it's kind of a different perspective, but I like being an only child, but that's from the perspective of only an only child.
You know, a child gets spoiled, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy is that, when we were kids, growing up at the lake, what it used to look like, and like it's obviously not a day compared to what it looks like now. What are your favorite moments on the lake when you were younger, like that you can basically explain, and what it is like today now? Like it's never there. It doesn't look like the same.
Yeah. Man, I've got memories back to, crappie fishing. So at the height of Okeechobee, it's before kind of like bass fishing, like crappie fishing at night. Like you'd go down the Kissimmee River between the bridge and the lake, and it would look like a city of boats out there. And I've heard it's kind of coming back, like Harney Pond Canal's getting a lot of boats. But like I remember growing up and just like every time the minnow would go down in between all the vegetation, you just pull up a crappie, pull up a crappie, pull up a crappie. So that's the biggest change. Once I started bass fishing, I can remember times at the lake, like North Shore, we'll say, which is right now a parking lot, eelgrass miles into the lake, hydrilla from the mouth of the 7 Mile Canal all the way out to the end of the monkey box. It was wild. But what was cool back then is I remember too, we used to shellcracker fish. So we'd run through moonshine, which moonshine was huge back then. It's not very big right now. And like I'd sit on top of a ladder, like a small ladder, being 8, 10 years old, and we'd run through all the trails, and like I could see the beds and point at the beds, and we'd stop and do that. So like really fun memories of that before bass fishing. And then bass fishing, it was cool. Like when they dropped the lake a long time ago, I remember we would wade fish. So like West Wall out there coming out of Clewiston, like all that, we would wade fish and put the boat on a sandbar up in the bulrushes and drop our one power pole, because power poles were not cool then. And we'd wade fish, just walking through the grass, being, 12 years old, walking down Lake Okeechobee like it was nothing. So.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I remember one year, I don't know if it was before or after you joined the Coast Guard, but when we were fishing the club, they went down to like 9.5 feet. And I remember going out the ship channel, and that's when, CPEC was there, Roker. We would go out there and just tear them up on spooks and stuff like that. That was crazy how freaked the lake got.
Yeah, that was right after I left. So right before I left, we had that hurricane hit, and it was crazy high.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like I remember, like right after the hurricane hit, I went to the lake.
It was like 17.5 feet or something like that.
It was wild. Like I remember going into Monkey Box, and I ran. There's the pole right there at the end of the canal. I ran past the pole, and the water was halfway up the pole. Like I almost drove over, like the rock mounds that line the 7 Mile Canal. But yeah, like after that, I'd come home a couple times and went out on the lake, and you had to stay in the channel. Like coming out of Clewiston, people don't understand. Like, yeah, there's a channel, but you can go left, you can go right, you can go wherever. Like these next couple of weeks when the Toyota and the Open happen, like people are just not going to understand that that's a solid rock ledge. Like when you ran out the end, there would be a shelf of rock across Lake Okeechobee. So yeah, I remember that too. And there was nowhere for the fish to go, and they just all stack in those piles. Like I remember going over to Pahokee. At Pahokee, there'd just being giant boulders sticking out on the lake. Like it was crazy.
That is pretty cool. That is, yeah. I remember seeing a lot of that crazy stuff. I remember you launch out of Harney Pond and you couldn't even go out of the mouth. It was just dry all through there.
Yeah,
That was
guys,
pretty cool.
Trim it up and take a chance.
Yeah. So, Coast Guard. So when you were in high school, after you got done, you got really serious in bass fishing. You ended up getting that flats boat. But then you decided to join the Coast Guard. What made you do that decision to join the Coast Guard and not chase, that fishing dream? Because I know you always told me when we were younger that you want to be a pro. That's kind of what I wanted to do. I'm like, oh, we're going to be pros.
Yeah. Everybody that grows up wants to be a pro.
Yeah.
I don't know. So if you remember way back, I actually wanted to go to art school. I had a few small art scholarships. I thought art was cool. I was pretty good at it. Following Guy Harvey and Don Ray and Steve Whitlock and all the local artists in Florida and stuff. But when art school said they wanted like 40 grand up front, and I had like 4 or 5 friends go over there, like we talked about getting a house and this and that, but they wanted 40 grand up front. Florida College didn't cover it because it was private school, so that kind of went out the window real quick. I went up to FGCU. I didn't know anything about college. I didn't know how to apply. I didn't know if my grades were good enough, which they were okay. But I don't know. At the end of the day, like I had done one like paper in high school career class about the Coast Guard, which made me no way, shape, or form educated about the Coast Guard. And Dad kind of pushed me, and so we went and talked to a recruiter over in Fort Lauderdale, and the guy was pretty gruff. Like I went in there and I'm trying to say sir and this and that, and he's like, I'm not a sir. You'll understand someday. He's like, I don't care if you sign up. If you don't sign up, it's just less paperwork for me. Well, that was like my first introduction in the Coast Guard. Knowing now what it is, like it is not like that at all. So I don't know. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what I was thinking. I kind of didn't even think about bass fishing when I signed up. It's kind of hard to explain. Like, I think nowadays, high school kids and kids in general have a better understanding of what the military is. I think recruiters do a better job of explaining it. I think there's a lot of avenues not college related where people can still fish. Like we've heard G-Man talk about this before, that there needs to kind of be a league where these college kids and high school kids are getting pushed so hard, but nobody's really seeing the kid that has to work for himself like we did back then. We didn't have high school and college fishing, so there was no avenue for guys like us. There was no, oh, go join this team or go to a combine. Like that's crazy nowadays, the opportunities they have, which is awesome. But I'll tell you this, I couldn't have sat through college. You want me to go fish a tournament, give my all, and then sit through a class on Monday? Absolutely not. So I think the military was a good fit for me at that time. I think it's a great fit for a lot of people that need a little bit of structure and just need that little shove, that little boost. But I will say I joined and had absolutely no clue what the Coast Guard was about. I didn't know there was going to be no fishing. I didn't know there was going to be no this, no that. But now, 18 years later, I've worked my way enough to where I can fish the opens and be comfortable and have a good have a good living and do the things I want to do. So it did work out in the beginning or in the end, but the beginning, yeah, I had no clue. I was just an 18-year-old kid along for the ride.
Can't you believe it's been 18 years though?
No.
It went so fast.
Yeah, we're looking at retirement places. I retire in 2 years, which usually the last 6 months of your career in the Coast Guard is, getting paperwork done and processing and this and that. So I've got like a year and a half to figure out where I want to retire for the rest of my life, and I'll be 38 years old when that happens.
That's crazy. That's and it goes for anybody that's contemplating, especially young anglers that don't have the funds and the support to get their way to fish and stuff like that. Joining the military, even if it's for 4 years, you do your 4 or 5 or whatever years, or you do it like what you did and stuff like that. And at a young age, when you get out, 40 is the new 30, vice versa. 40 is the new 50, that kind of thing. So like, you're still kind of young in a stance where, like when you get done, you got the next 20, 30 years to chase the dream and whatever the case it might be, whatever you want to do. Obviously you're in the opens, so you want to go fish the elites. That's kind of where I was going to go to. So, after you get done with, doing the next 2 years, and you retire, you're going to be obviously fishing online opens and try to qualify for the elites, right?
Right. Yep. 100%.
Yeah. 100%. We actually, I think you and me talked the other day about, one of your sponsors or whatever was talking about how you should consider looking into the MPFL. What do you think about that? And how's that, being from, want to chase the elites, but then you have people from the elites going to the MPFL and fishing both leagues. What do you think about the MPFL and how it's growing?
NPFL is a really good league. That first year it came out, um, it's kind of interesting to see, and we seen the couple shortfalls in it that didn't happen. But whereas they could have quit and walked away, they supported their anglers and came back with a better platform and really boosted everybody up. I mean, it's a great trail, and everybody's talking about it. So um, whereas some leagues are getting talked about in a negative way, I've really only heard positive things about the NPFL.
Yeah. There was actually big news the other day. Dakota Ebery decided to go fish the opens, all 9 opens this year, and back out the BPT. And then
Yeah, I seen that last night too. I made a comment on it. I wasn't trying to stir the pot, but yeah, I seen that last night that it was an announcement on I think it was on the Basscast, but they I remembered because I seen Jacopo Galelli was fishing all 9 opens as an EQ, which was awesome. And he's really good angler from Italy. Um, I seen his name in the EQs, and then I seen that he accepted that invite, and I was like, well, that's kind of strange. Like, thought he was going to be an EQ. I didn't think you were allowed to fish both. But that all, yeah, there was like 4 social media posts last night about it that Dakota's switching over to the EQs and vice versa. I don't know if
yeah,
Jacopo's.
he switched to the BPT. Yeah, it's crazy how things switched. So going back from we just started talking about the opens and stuff
Yeah,
like
we
that.
were.
But now going back to the Coast Guard really quick. What I was saying earlier, like if a very young angler just doesn't have the funds to do it, I recommend joining the military. That's something that I kind of one regret that I have in my life when I was younger that I should have done it. I mean, even if it was for the 4 years and you got in and out, there's just so many benefits when you do get out. With a VA loan, the health care that you get. I mean, there's so many other benefits. And people respect you in a sense, and that's something to be proud of. But when you did make the decision in the Coast Guard, you've obviously got a chance to, and this is what's so cool about joining the military. You got a chance to see the world. You get to go to different places, get stationed at different places. What are the places? What are some places that you've been stationed at? What are your favorite places so far that you got the chance to, for the last 18 years?
Yeah. So our boot camp is in Cape May, New Jersey. So you go do a couple months in New Jersey, and then you may go to a school wherever that school's at. But I went straight to a ship in Key West, so not very far from home. You kind of get a little say when you're in boot camp, like I want to go maybe to this state or go over to this region. So I went to a ship in Key West, learned a lot, took an immense amount of knowledge from there. Was there for 1 year and like 9 months. It says in my record like 1.8. I loved Key West. I wasn't old enough to partake in most of the things happening in Key West. I was 18, 19. But I tell people to this day, if bass fishing doesn't work out, if it's done tomorrow, I'll sell everything I have and I'll go be a tarpon guide in the Florida Keys or in Key West. Just that island life. I don't know. I really like the island life, and I think listening to some of those old tarpon guides it's a really cool. I used to chase some tarpon down there when I lived there, and that's like right up there with the excitement of bass fishing, I will say. So if bass fishing doesn't work, you'll see my YouTube channel for tarpon fishing. But I did almost 2 years there. Went to my tech school, so bosun mate is my professional rating, and we learned about navigation and charting and plotting and driving, all this kinds of stuff. From there, after a couple weeks there, I went to Pascagoula, Mississippi, and was at a station. So I spent 4 years on the Gulf Coast. And about halfway through, I joined a local bass club called Ocean Springs Bass Club. I don't think they're around anymore, but shout out to them. I learned again an immense amount from the older guys in the club showing me how to fish tidal water, and it was really cool fishing with them. You know, it was just club atmosphere, really good guys. We go to the meetings, everybody bicker at the meetings like they do, and we come to a tournament location, fishing places like Pascagoula River and the Jordan River and the Pearl River. Um, it was after Katrina, so you know, a 6 pound bag of fish for 5 fish at 11 inches was a good bag. I would like to say I learned a lot there, but all I learned was how to catch current and tidal fish. So from there, I started really thinking, you know, bass fishing. I need to get back into it. I need to, because when I was on the ship in Key West, you know, I wasn't bass fish. I fished one bass tournament while I lived down there. It was the military Coast Guard tournament. Um, and that kind of like it started the fuel in the fire. But when I got back over to Mississippi, it really started it. So from Mississippi, I got a plethora of picks of where you want to go in the country. And I put Paducah, Kentucky kind of towards the top, and I got Paducah, Kentucky. I went there, and from 2010, I'm sorry, 12, 13, 14, 15, almost to 16, I spent learning that place. And that's learning ledge fishing, learning graphing. Before I even got stationed up there, I went and put 2D on my boat. I got my first HDS on the boat, and learned how to scan, learned how to, 2D, learn side scan. I learned how to throw an A rig up there. I learned how to throw a shaky head. I learned how to throw a whopper plopper on the grass down south. And that's where I really, you know, I kind of started to think I could maybe do this at a bigger level. You know, growing up in the club, you know, you're always like, I want to be a pro, but you never really actually know if you can do it. I started competing down there in the BFLs, and that's where I think anglers get a really good lesson. Is you see a lot of newer kids. I'll call them kids because they're kids to us, and I think you'll see this too. We see a lot of newer kids just take that step from either high school fishing or no fishing and just jump straight into Toyotas and opens and the highest level. And man, that mid level, them BFLs or you know your state team tournaments, federations, what have you, those are where you come back at night and get your butt kicked and go, man, can I actually fish? But I had a little bit of success there on Kentucky Lake and just learned so much. And I think I was there at a pivotal time of ledge fishing and learning my electronics and learning, you know, fish move to here this month, or this water temp they're going to drop off here. And I was still in the Coast Guard, so I still had to do my work. But I was fishing. I would fish Tuesday nighters out of Moore's, which a Tuesday nighter at Moore's, if you're not familiar, you've got Bill Taylor and about 7 or 8 other wrapped FLW professionals fishing on a Tuesday night from the area. So if you can win a Tuesday nighter, I felt good about those wins. But I was fishing Tuesday nights. I'd start fishing Friday for a tournament. I'd fish Saturday in a BFL or something. And then Sunday, there was usually a local tournament me and my now wife would fish. So, yeah, met my wife there. She was big into sports and competition. So I got her right into fishing. She loved it. We got married leaving there. And again, I got this big list of where do you want to go in the country, in the world. And we strategically kind of picked New York, which sounds wild, but my wife wanted to be a physician assistant. They had schools up there. So I said, well, I don't know how to catch smallmouth. So there's a lot of schools. It's not too bad. Let's go to New York. We got stationed up there. It's a town called Oswego. Nobody knows about it. It's a pin drop other than Al Roker went to the college there, and it's right outside Syracuse. So we lived down towards Syracuse, a little town called Baldwinsville, which was awesome. I had one of the best lakes. People don't know that it's like one of the best lakes in the country, like 2 minutes down the road in the heart of Syracuse. It used to be really polluted, but God, there's so many fish in it now. It's ridiculous.
Which lake was that?
It's you asked me and I completely forgot the name of it. It's called let me Google Earth it real quick.
Were you close to like Champlain?
So I was not close to Champlain. I was
Okay.
close to Onondaga. Jeez, I don't know why I forgot that because I lived in Onondaga County. So Onondaga, on Onondaga.
Okay.
It was a cool little lake. Tuesday nighters take like there'd be 7 or 8 bags over 20 pounds, and this would be in a 3-hour tournament. It was a wild little lake. But I was 25 minutes from Oneida. I
Okay.
was 45 minutes from Cayuga and the Finger Lakes, Seneca, and all them. I was about an hour from St. Lawrence River from the mouth from Clayton up there. So, yeah, I was in the plethora of it. I got my brains beat in on Oneida, and I figured out Cayuga. We'll put it that way. I watched a lot of that Greg Hackney video on repeat and in slow motion when he won up there. I love Cayuga. It's probably one of my favorite lakes to fish. I've heard the grass isn't as good as it used to be, but yeah, I love that place. And then St. Lawrence River. I mean, if you haven't heard about St. Lawrence River and you're bass fishing, I don't know where you've been, but lived about an hour from there. And then to keep this longer story going, we had to, so you have to do certain things in your career in the military. And I knew I needed to get on a ship again to get my what they call sea time. So I had to get on a ship. I left New York with a very, very short list this time. And there was pretty much two choices, Alaska or Puerto Rico. Not highly desirable places in the Coast Guard to some people. So between Alaska and Puerto Rico, we said at least Puerto Rico will be, an hour and a half flight from home.
Warmer.
There was bass there technically. We would go catch peacock bass. But yeah, I took that job in Puerto Rico again on a ship, and for 2 years, kind of blacked out. It was an experience living there, we'll say. The ship, I mean, just unbelievably busy, dealing with drug runners and migrant vessels coming over from Dominican Republic and Haiti and stuff, and that place was wild. Yeah, it was very, 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 very busy. But when you go to one of those places, you do get what they call priority in the Coast Guard. So if you go somewhere not as desirable or a place that's harder to work, they catch you on the back end and you get some priority. So I left there, got one of my top picks, and now I'm an instructor. So I'm over in New Orleans, Louisiana, which I love instructing. I love teaching. In the military, you do instruct without knowing it throughout the years. You always have someone under you teaching. So I really like instructing. And I got over here to New Orleans and I teach it. It's called the Regional Fisheries Training Center. So every Coast Guard law enforcement officer that enforces fisheries laws on the Gulf of Mexico has to come through our class. And that's from Brownsville, Texas to almost Key West. So yeah, we teach a lot of students and I get to talk about fish all day. It's a win-win.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And that's in Louisiana, right? Right outside New Orleans.
Yep, we live right outside New Orleans.
How's the food up there? I got a good friend, Molly and Chris. They're from there in that area, and she can cook. And when I say cook, I mean, dude, the Cajun, I love it. How is it up there?
It is good, yeah. I mean, we're coming into boil season and festival season. Mardi Gras is right around the corner, which kids get out for a week for Mardi Gras. The roads shut down. They're already setting up like grandstands for people. Like Mardi Gras gets a little wild here. So, but
cool.
It's all about king cake. So king cakes are the pride and joy right now. They opened up pre-orders on some places like a month and a half ago for pre-ordering these king cakes. So that's the big go-to this time of year.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like having the opportunity, especially someone that's young, contemplating on what they want to do in life, but they want to pursue bass fishing and they can't really afford college and the whole 9 yards. There is other avenues. I think the Coast Guard or the military in general is just something a really good start to get you going. And then, like I mentioned, you don't have to do 20 years like you're doing. You're doing it because I know a lot of people that have done the 20 years and 25, 30 years. And I mean, you get a full pension, I mean, you get it all. I mean, you're basically retired and you're still getting paid what you were doing earlier. But you don't have to do the 20 years. You can do the 4 years. You get all the benefits, not as much as what you get for 20 years, but I mean, think about it. Like it's common sense. It's someone that has, those circumstances should consider that. So we talked about it, before the show and stuff like that, about thinking about where you want to live, where you want to retire. So you're thinking about like what, North Florida area?
Yeah, I'd like to get back to Florida. I don't know. It's hard to explain to people that like Florida has its own vibe. They see Florida man tackles an alligator while eating a hot dog on the news, and that's what they think Florida's about. But I don't. Naples is so nice and so focused towards that community of, a little bit older crowd, and they really like 15 red lights per mile. But once you kind of get out of that scene, it gets a little more country up towards the north of Florida, and I think there's a home for us up there somewhere. I can still guide saltwater, freshwater. That's kind of my plan when I retire as a guide, and to fish the opens for the unforeseen future with that. And being North Florida, it takes 12 hours from Naples to get out of the state. So I can be out of the state in just a few hours up there. So yeah, that's kind of where we're looking right now. We haven't ruled out maybe Alabama, but boy, I don't want to have to go relearn all that fishing wise.
Yeah. Speaking of Alabama, a couple weeks I'll be going to Logan Martin, so that should be a blast.
Yeah.
Pretty stoked for that. So the Bassmaster Opens, could you say that last season, even though you only did three, right? Three events?
Yeah.
Was that arguably your best three events through the whole opens that you've done before?
Well, that was the only three. So yeah, I had fished one open in on Oneida Lake a couple years ago, and it was let me that really was let me put all my eggs in one basket, and I practiced the lake for like a week because $1,800 is a lot of money, but at that time it was a lot of money to me. So yeah, I'd fished one open before. I'd cut like a 30th place check. That was one Gray won, our buddy Gray Buck.
Yep.
So I have the experience in a big tournament, but until you fish consistently 200 and something boat tournaments, I mean, like it's a different crowd, and it's a different crowd before you even show up and put your boat in the water. Like how people act launching their boats, how they, going through check-in line. Everything is just so much different with a big tournament. But going into Toledo Bend last year, first tournament, man, practicing on that lake. If you've never been there, you're in 60 feet of water, and there's just treetops as far as you can see. I had like 3 spots that I could safely get to. Didn't know what I had. Caught some 7.5, 8 pounders in practice, and yeah, it worked out day one. I had like 23 something, sitting in the top 10, but then like 50th place was still like 18 pounds. So I was like, well, if I waver an inch, it's not going to work out well. So day 2, everybody struggled. I didn't think there was any way I was going to make it. I was one of the first boats to weigh in, and doing an interview behind stage, they're like, oh yeah, you're going to make tomorrow. I was like, no, there's no way. First open, I'm going to make top 10 final day. No way. So then I sat there for 2.5 hours, debating with myself, am I going to get on the road, or am I going to start looking for a hotel room? I sat there and waited and waited and waited, and I just would slowly drop. Every time I think about going home, I just drop one more spot. I drop one more spot. So I waited around, made final day. And yeah, that was the best and only top 10 finish in the opens. But man, first one out of the gate, it really sets you up for the season with some confidence.
Yeah, definitely. And then you got to fish. Your next one was Eufaula, Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, Eufaula, which MPFO went there last year and made it look completely different than when we went there. Again, didn't know what to expect, and I'm not so I don't know how you are as an angler, but I don't do a whole lot of research. I looked on YouTube, Eufaula, Oklahoma, but videos on there and stuff, just they weren't relevant, and I don't want my brain to start thinking of something else. So I kind of show up to these tournaments a little bit blind. I think it helps me fish a little bit better. No preconceived notions. No, well, I saw this one guy in a video go here. I saw this go here. So I went to Eufaula with literally no knowledge. I talked to Gray because they were there with the
Invitationals.
yeah, invitationals. And
Yeah.
again, it was water in the bushes and flipping. I basically asked him, is it safe to run? And he said it's another timber lake. And I was like, well, great. So we went there. I had a really good practice. I actually was pretty excited about practice. And got to my spot day one, nothing worked out. I caught like a 4.5 finally, doing what I had been doing. And then I turn a corner and there's another opens angler. There's Bobby Lane coming down a row of docks. I'm like, well, these things are shot out. Made like 3 skips and caught another like 4.5 pounder, and then went in full panic mode because I had 2 big fish and nothing to follow. Ran around the lake, finally got a limit. And then day 2 was reverse boat order. And I got a video on this on YouTube, but it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like when you come out of Eufaula, the main ramp, there's about a 2-mile stretch of shoreline, and there was like 50 boats. I mean, just one after another. Looked like they're casting over each other. Their live scopes are crossing. I guess I missed the memo that said that's where all the fish were, but yeah, that's where everybody was at. It was the wildest thing I ever seen. So
Yeah, that was a big deal. Everybody was saying how that open was, so many people were on top of each other, and right, especially right outside the ramp. And it kind of makes sense, when you release a fish, they're right there. So.
yeah, and I hate fishing like that. I like going to find something different. Toledo, there was some guys on top of each other, like running down lake. There was 4 boats on this ledge, 4 boats on this ledge. I shut down in my spot, idled about a mile, and in this whole bay I fished, there was 1 other boat. So I mean, I was really alone at Toledo. Again, at Eufaula, the strip I was fishing, the shoreline I was fishing, I was all alone until day 2. And then we salvaged a check out of there. Excuse me. And yeah, then we went to Lake of the Ozarks, which was another wild tournament with boat traffic. I've never seen that before.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, so you got 2 out of 3 checks.
Yeah,
right?
2 out of 3. Ozarks, I came back. I don't know. Day 1, I had an early boat number. My head was kind of spinning. What the fish I thought were going to be doing, they weren't doing. I was throwing a whopper plopper on top, which is, typically that time of year really good there. A lot of short fish. My video shows short fish, spotted bass. I had like 8 pounds. Day 2, I didn't check into like 5:30 that night. I got to slow down, and I went back to throwing like a 16-ounce shaky head, very, 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 very light. And I think I was going behind guys and catching them. I had almost 17 pounds. Like my bass track showed I needed like exactly 17, and I had exactly like 15 and a half. I pulled into the dock. My wife's like, please tell me you're underestimating. And I'm like, no, I'm dead on. And sure enough, I was, just a couple ounces of coming back and getting a check. So, but it was still 50th place finish. So, in big scheme of things, points wise, if it mattered for points, it was a great comeback, but it wasn't a paycheck.
So what place did you end up finishing in the in that division?
I finished 50th. I went from like 130 something up to 50th. So
Up to 50th.
So
And
points
that was
wise,
just fishing the 3 events, right?
just
Yeah.
the 3. Yeah, I finished 10th in Division 2, which was kind of cool. I was the
10th.
only.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. I was the only Division 2. Which I don't know how many there were. I might be just bragging on myself that there's 4 people, but I was the only Division 2 angler to finish in the top 10. So I don't know. It was kind of that's how I wanted to gauge myself, was if I fished all 9 opens right now, it'd be tough with my work schedule. We have a small schoolhouse, so I really don't want to put that on the guys at the schoolhouse, which they support me fully. My command supports me. They pick up where I can't. If I need to take 1 class week off a year, they really help me out. So I didn't want to put that burden on them. Plus, I think you fish different when you're in a points mentality versus if I fish 1 division, I can just fish a little more free. So I'm spending these next couple of years kind of just building the resume and making sure I can do it, and hopefully get a little more experience and some sponsor exposure. And in 2 years, when I go for all 9, it'll help out a lot.
Yeah, dude. Hopefully you can get there. I think you'll do it. I think you'll end up getting it. Hopefully there's going to be some big changes about it. You know, I think in the next couple of years, I think BBT is going to just be done. I don't
Yeah,
think there's going to be any of that anymore. I think it's just going to be the elites and then NPFL obviously. Then I hear a rumor about possibly another league forming in the
yeah,
sense, but
yeah. I heard about
and
that
there's
going on like
rumors.
that too.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think every year it's just going to get harder and harder to join elites. You know, I I think they need to open it up to a little bit more anglers instead of just the 100 or 105 they put out. I
It's
think
easy
they need
from
to
the
cap it
outside to
like
say that.
130. Huh?
Yeah, I say it's easy from the outside to say that. If you're in the elites, you're like, no, no, we're good.
Yeah, no, that's true. But you know, it just opens the doors for other people and stuff like that. You know, and
Yeah,
you know, the more money you put in, more people pay entry fees, the bigger the payout. So, you know, that's kind of how I look at it. So yeah, your goals obviously you want to you want to join the elites and all that stuff. So, you know, what are the some sponsors that you got going on now and everything?
yeah. So working with AFCO, been working with them for a few years now. Obviously, their clothing line is amazing. They had a contest a couple years back when they got into the bass fishing world, which growing up in Florida, we've always known them from saltwater. I jumped in the contest. They really liked what I had, and it was cool because that first year I went and actually worked their media day up on Oneida Lake, so I got to meet all the pros. I went to dinner with them. Like that was a really cool behind the scenes thing to get to do with them. So yeah, I've been with AFCO for a few years now, and I can't say nothing but good things about them. And then Denali Rods, I've been with them for 10 years now, almost. Again, great rods. They had some controversy years ago, but they came back from it, and really, I mean, they make an awesome rod, really quality product that I believe in. Like I said, I've been using them for years and years now. I feel like it's a sponsor plug, but I'll just keep going. So we'll just keep going. Vicious Line, I love Vicious Line. Their fluorocarbon's phenomenal. And the thing I say about them is it's a really good product because it's easy to push. I mean, you've got other lines on the market that are good, but boy, they're expensive. You can go to Walmart and get yourself Vicious Line right off the shelf and be fishing the same thing that Elite Series pros are fishing for an affordable price. So I fully believe in them. Red Tail Republic sunglasses. My friend out in Texas, Nino Gonzalez. I think you remember him from Florida. He was a school teacher down there back in the day. Put his dreams into motion, moved back to Texas, and started a rod building company, which led into a sunglasses company. And I mean, he's making awesome sunglasses now. He's doing prescription lenses and HD lenses and all the colors you need. Again, awesome glasses. And then we've got Wise Guy Tackle down out of Florida. Steve down there is making, again, you've heard me say it in videos, like some of the best plastic I've used. Great colors. That Crooked Politician color has been getting me in and out of tournaments for a while now. Plastic's just an awesome quality. Really easy to work with. They've got saltwater stuff. They got freshwater stuff. I got a little video dropping here in a couple days that if I make a run at Okeechobee, it'll definitely be on his lures. So, yeah, really awesome company, really awesome lures, easy to work with. And then let's see here. You put me on the spot like this. I'm like the guys on stage at the Elite Series. I got to look down at my jersey. Africa Vision, not like Picasso. Oh, Picasso Lures. I'm sitting there running through my list in my head. Picasso Lures. Again, been with them several years now. They make, American custom tackle, like American made custom tackle, any way you can get it. They've got 1,000 SKUs. You can get if you say you want a spinnerbait, they can customize it in any manner. I'm talking color, wire size, blade configuration, blade size. They sell everything. Their spinnerbaits, their bladed jigs, the shock blades. They got the new circuit breaker pro blade. So circuit breaker material on their blade, which I'm gonna have down there at Okeechobee. It's a little bit more finesse style. again, ton of company, or a ton of colors, ton of different variations of all their baits. I really like working with these smaller companies. I'm not, Avco's a huge company, but they're providing me the best stuff on the market. So I'm always going to support them and love what they're doing. They're American fish and tackle company for a reason. But I like working with these smaller companies. I can get on the phone and call Picasso. I can get on the phone and call Wise Guys. You know, it's just easier to work with a smaller company, and it's better to support a smaller company, in my opinion. Like, um, AFCO being huge makes the best products, and they get the best products. But I equally like, Wise Guys down in Florida just making what an angler needs, and it's awesome to support these little businesses as much as you support the big businesses. So, yeah, I like being able to reach out to my sponsors and talk to them at any time, and that's why I like supporting them.
That's what's up. That is what's up. Yeah, you got a good sponsor, good background, good sponsor team, and everything. So I'm gonna throw this random. This is gonna be a random question. Get to a lake, whatever lake it could be. You got one rod on your deck. What's your number one thing to throw?
You can't even narrow it down to like a region. Like we're going to Okeechobee, or number one rod. Oh man, this is as hard as narrowing it down to what song I'd walk on the stage with. I'll say a spinnerbait. Yeah, that's a tough one, but I'll say a spinnerbait.
Do you consider yourself more of a power fisherman or a finesse fisherman?
I don't know. I don't. I don't know. I will flip 65-pound braid. I'll go shoulder to shoulder with anybody. But if it's throw an 8-pound test up on St. Lawrence River, I can do that just as well. So I don't know, man. I can sit there and pick a piece of grass apart for an hour, or I can put the trolling motor on high and sling a whopper plopper down the bank. I don't consider myself anything. I always think it's funny when you're watching these tournaments and they're like, oh, he's throwing a frog, so that's a frog angler. He's really good at throwing a frog, and they put these labels on guys. I don't know. I don't like a label. I want to be well rounded.
Well rounded. Well, that's cool, dude. So I've been wanting to ask you this question forever. I think I did ask your dad this question.
Oh boy.
Tell me the whole thing, the whole banana theory myth. I just still don't understand it.
I mean, it's
you believe in it?
Yeah, it's you got to believe in something. It's just bad luck. It's the whole history of it. If we want to dive into this, is the banana boats back in the day would come from Cuba to the U.S. Banana spiders would be throughout the boat. Banana spiders would bite people and they would die. So bananas on a boat were bad luck. Well, somehow that's translated through the years that just bananas are bad luck. And it's funny, actually, like a few months ago, we were in Destin. We went out on one of the head boats, and before anybody even set foot on the boat, they said, "Is there any bananas?" And the captain was pretty serious, and we're walking onto the boat, and we look over, and there's a thing of bananas floating. So he made them throw it off the boat before we even got out there. So, yeah, I believe in it. I've had bad luck with even banana boat sunscreen in the boat. So, yeah, it's not even bananas. It's anything banana related.
I will never forget this, but I think it was, man, it was a long time ago. It was a tournament your dad won. It was the first tournament of the year. It was a cold one. We were launching up north at the north end of the lake. I remember he went to Eagle Bay and caught that giant one. He had 2 fish, and then he caught that giant one, which was the big fish for the whole year. I pulled out a banana and started eating it. Dude, your dad, I've never seen him get so mad in my life.
I believe that.
Yeah.
At anything in that story, I believe that statement the most.
Yeah.
He's serious about it.
He is serious about it. So, all right, dude. Well, before I close this out, tell me a little bit about your social platforms and social media stuff.
I'm trying as best as anybody can right now. So Facebook, Kyle Metzger Fishing, I do YouTube. It's not the quality of a Milliken, but YouTube at Kyle Metzger Fishing or Captain K88, and then Instagram at KDM Fishing. And then if you scroll over to TikTok, there's a few videos on there. So, and that's Kyle Catching Fish. Not to make it confusing, but yeah, Facebook's kind of where I'm focusing this year. They got a lot of good ways to make it easy to put social media out there, and all my sponsors are on there, so I can, share their content as well.
Nice. All right, cool, dude. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and finally got an episode going for the 2024 season. You being the first one for the year. Good luck to you for the rest of the way. I know you're fishing all 6 of them this year, or
Yeah,
fishing 6 out of the 9.
Yeah, 2 divisions, Division 1 and 2, and then yeah, so we'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, good luck at Okeechobee. I'll probably talk to you beforehand. But dude, it was great. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I appreciate it, and good luck in Alabama.
All right. I'll talk to you later, man.
Later.